we thought that would be fun to do. Little different, maybe. Anyway, we want to take this time now to discuss another aspect of the odd. That is the exception to the rule. Most things that occur are typical. Right? Right. The known, understood things that happen. However, occasionally, the oddity does happen, in which that happens outside of the norm. These things do happen. They are, of course, called the odd, rare, the anomaly. Why did we bring this up? Well, let us tell you why we brought this up then. We were watching a video from a psychology channel on YouTube that was discussing PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. This, if you don't know, is a mental disorder which occurs after experiencing a traumatic event. Natural disasters, war, motor vehicle accidents, different things like that. Something that really traumatizes you is life-threatening typically, and even surrounded by death. Mr. Vane, when he was a child, did experience a very traumatic event. This event did come close to killing him, ending his life. It was a motor vehicle accident that was the cause, that was the traumatic event. And throughout his life afterwards, for the most part, it did not seem so much that he had PTSD from this event. He seemed to recover pretty well. But there was something up there that wasn't quite right with Mr. Vane. And I'm not talking about what it is right now. I'm talking about something that would cause a typically normal, very kind, very caring, very understanding, very selfless person to in the strangest, oddest, most unlikely ways, lash out for no particular reason, to have extreme emotional reactions to things that should not elicit this kind of reaction. Just very extreme emotional outbursts of despair and of anger. And Mr. Vane was subjected to numerous accounts of psychological intervention, counseling, treatment for these matters. Some working just a bit more than others, but nothing that really cured his state, really understood, really identified what was going on with Mr. Vane. It wasn't enough. There wasn't enough evidence to say it was PTSD. Otherwise, he would have been diagnosed with PTSD, which he would never was. Schizophrenia, no. More slight OCD with a bit of neuroticism. Neurotic OCD, in a straight way, it's bizarre to say the least. A very OCD, but not OCD, a desire for OCD, a desire for consistency, expecting diversity. It's beyond trying to explain right now, because that's not the point anyway. Here's the point. The exception to the rule. This video that spoke of PTSD gave typical, elements, signs of the word of symptoms of PTSD. Now, Mr. Vane wasn't denying these things, and this is not to ever say this is not what it is. The rule is PTSD is the likely reason for these symptoms. However, in Mr. Vane's case, it was discovered quite by accident that there was something else going on. A malevolent being, entity, parasite, somehow managed to attach itself into the psyche of Mr. Vane. This is not to say a demon possession or anything like that. No, this was something that could influence Mr. Vane's psyche in more of a haphazard, malfunctioning kind of way. The only reason Mr. Vane ever was aware of this was through a series of unlikely events culminating in the discovery, the eviction of this malevolent being. Mr. Vane, since this has been gone, Mr. Vane is calmer. He is not so subject to these emotional outbursts. And anyone who's known Mr. Vane before, years before, to now, would note a significant difference. The change only occurred within the last, I'd say, 2-3 years. The exception to the rule. If everything else you've tried isn't working, if everything else is not giving the results, then there's something else. And perhaps this something else is the exception to the rule. That's when you have to look for alternate solutions to problems. Always go with the rule first. bet on what is likely. However, if the likely just doesn't happen, if the likely is not the solution, the exception must be in play. Those are a little bit difficult to deal with because the exception to the rule has typically no previous understanding or solution to. If the rule isn't there, then favor the odd. Time comes when it sees